Thank you for joining us this morning for this webinar. So this morning, the webinar is on downloadable protocols. So it's relatively short this morning, nice and straightforward. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to use the questions panel and we'll get to them at the end.
Welcome to today's tutorial. Let's get started. Let's have a look at our agenda. Today we'll discuss how to configure the Horner OCS to use downloadable protocols to set up communications for various device applications. This will be a general overview of the downloadable protocol configuration using Modbus client version 4.05. Then we will finish on a live Q&A session. Let's start the demonstration. We'll start by going to the Horner website. Once you're on the website, go to Support and then select Protocols. Then expand the OCS Protocols drop-down. Here you'll find all the OCS protocols that are available for download. You can download the protocol that you wish to use. Keep in mind, some of these protocols are preloaded in Cscape by default. It also may require updated firmware or a new version of Cscape to operate properly. Once you've downloaded the protocol, go to your C drive, then to your Program Files x86 folder, and select the version of Cscape that you're using. I'm using Service Pack 3.5. There'll be two different folders here, one for the Ethernet protocols. These are the protocols that are currently loaded on my computer, and then there's a serial protocol folder. Once you've downloaded the protocols from our website, put those protocol files in the appropriate folder on your C drive. Then, when you open Cscape, those protocols are available in the configuration. Now let's go into Cscape and show an example of setting up one of the downloadable protocols. There are two places that you can configure the protocol. One of them is under Controller Hardware Configuration. If you're configuring it for Ethernet, you would select the LAN 1 configuration. This is where you put in your IP address that you're using for LAN. And down here in the downloadable protocol section, you would select your appropriate protocol. In this example, I'm going to be going through Modbus client version 4.05. The other place that you can configure protocols for is under the Programs tab in Protocol Configurations. From here, there's both the Serial Protocol section and the Ethernet section. Let's get started. I've already got an OCS selected. I'm using the XL4 Model 6. I've selected the Modbus client version 4.05, and now we'll set up the network. We're under the Network section. We'll leave the min-max port ID and keep a lifetime at the default settings. The protocol will need to be selected for your application, either TCP/IP or UDP. For this example, I'm going to leave it at Modbus TCP/IP. For retries, we suggest using 1 or 2. That's sufficient for most applications. And we'll make the timeout 1000. We recommend leaving the update value at 0. You can put a value in there, but it does slow the network down. We'll make the reacquire time 10,000, but you can go much lower than that. 3,000 to 8,000 works well for most applications. There is a manual triggering section here. For most cases, automatic works best, which is what we'll use. Master ID address is not used in this case. You can disable the protocol using the disable register, but we won't use it. We highly suggest you configure a status register. This is very helpful in troubleshooting problems with communications. I'm going to assign it to R1000. There are 4 32-bit registers available for this, which we will cover shortly. We recommend setting up one screen on your OCS with these registers that you're going to assign. In this case, it will be R1000, R1002, R1004, and R1006. It's best to set those up on your screen so that you can easily troubleshoot and communicate problems. If we look in Protocol Help here, we'll get a basic overview of the general protocol configuration. It'll give you information on register mapping. It will give you pinouts for all of the connections. and here we have the network communication errors. These are the registers that we just assigned to the status register. So the first register, R1000, will be the update interval exceeded count. I've set my time to 0, so it'll give me the transaction scan time. If you put a different value in, it will give you the exceeded count. Register R1002 will give you no response count. R1004 will be the corrupt response count. R1006 will be the valid response count, which is the most important one, as you can see when you have a good connection that will continually increment. Additionally, when we get to the device status register, the error codes are listed here for that. So that takes care of the network configuration. We'll click OK and go to the devices section. Now we'll add a device, and we'll call it device 1. Since we're using LAN, we'll give the target IP address a register for the IP. We'll use R2000, and we'll leave the target port at 502. In the next section, device options, you may need to select swap words or single register requests depending on how data is transmitted. Then select the device type addressing to use. There's several different addressing types available. We'll select generic decimal addressing. Again, there's a disable device register here. We'll enable status and assign R1008 to the address. We highly suggest that you put it on your screen somewhere to be used with the information that we showed you in the protocol help section. So that was the basic device configuration. I'll hit OK. Now we'll go to the scan list. I'm going to select Add. If you have more than one device, you'll be able to select which device you want to configure the scan list for. To find the device register, look at your slave device and see how the registers are set up for it. I'm going to use 3006. If you hit this arrow, it will give you some options on what you can and cannot do. We want to read-write, but you could also select read-only. We'll go down here and type in register 3006. We'll hit OK. I'm going to use a length of 1, so we have one 16-bit register. If I needed a 32-bit register, I would select 32-bit access. The local register is the register on my master device that I want to put the data into. I'm going to assign it register 4000, and it's going to be a polled read in this case. Now I'll hit OK, and there we have configured one of the downloadable protocols. I've configured a serial Modbus downloadable protocol here to demonstrate the use of the status register to help confirm communications and aid in troubleshooting problems. I will also show you the use of the disable registers in Cscape 9.9 Service Pack 3 and above for the network and device. For this to work, the controller will need to be running 15.40 firmware. I've configured a smart mod using the MJ2 serial port using Modbus Master version 4.05 in Cscape 9.9 Service Pack 3. In my network, I've configured my controller to communicate with SmartMod and assigned the disable register and status register. I have also done this for the device here, as you can see. I have placed these registers in my watch window and I already have it running. I have my update interval set to 0 in configuration, so this is showing me the actual scan time for the transaction in the first register. And the fourth status register is showing an incrementing number indicating that the communications are working. The second and third status registers are not incrementing and should be 0. The device register also shows 0, indicating that there is no problem. Now, if I disconnect the cable from the controller, you will see the first register and the fourth register stop. The second register now indicates no response counts. The device register also indicates 129, which says that a timeout has occurred. Reconnecting the cable restores communications, as you can see. The disable registers can be used to stop and start communications. This will not give you an error, it will just simply turn the communications on and off. You can put this information from the watch window onto the screen of your OCS. So that wraps up today's demonstration. Thank you for attending today's tutorial. The Q&A session will begin shortly.
Okay, let's see if we have any questions then. Do all controllers have the same built-in protocols? No, it depends on the controller you're using. So you'll see differences between the XL series and the Micro OCS series. But if you are unsure as to what protocols are built in for your specific unit, you can go into Cscape and set that controller in the hardware configuration, and you'll be able to see exactly what is supported built in for that unit. How can I know how to select the right device type in device config? General decimal addressing, native, Modicon 5, Modicon 6. I believe you're talking about the Modbus there. That will be down to your application. If you have something specific that you have in mind for that, you can get on to me on tech support and I'll follow up with you on that one. Is there anything else coming in? Not just now. I shall take you back to my screen. Okay, you should all hopefully be seeing my screen again there now. So we do have our upcoming lists as usual. The next 2 weeks is going to be a two-parter, so it's going to be removable media functions. So we have part 1 next week and part 2 following the week after. You can see the full list there that you can all have a flick through and see which ones you want to join in. We'd be delighted if you could join us for all of them. The registration links are all there if you do wish. And as usual, if there's any past ones that you would like to look back on, they are all on our YouTube channel, which is all attached here. So you can view those at any time you like. I'll just give one last quick check back at the question, see if there's anything else come in. Not that I can see. So on that note, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you all for joining us this morning, and have a nice day. Hope to see you again next week.